Okay, good evening, everyone, and welcome to another happy hour episode brought to you by NAAP. We are the National Association of Adoptees and Parents, where it is our mission to unify the adoption community and elevate our diverse voices by promoting dialogue, understanding, and healing through education, awareness, and connection. We have a disclosure up. We just want to remind everyone to please remain muted. Raise your hand, your virtual hand on the screen to be recognized. You're welcome to post questions and comments in the chat bar. This is a public meeting with no guarantee that information or identity is confidential. Portions of this event are recorded and shared on our YouTube channel. If you are experiencing a serious mental health event or suicidal thought, please contact a licensed professional or call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. Okay, thank you, Jennifer. Again, I'm Marcie Keithley, your host for the evening, along with fellow board members Jennifer Falsing. Jen, raise your hand. Beth Sturry. Let's see who else we have tonight. I think that might be it tonight. Just double checking. Okay, yes. And again, if you're joining us for the very first time, we want to give you a super warm welcome, and please feel free to let us know you're a first-time attendee in the chat room. We'd appreciate that. At this time, I would like to introduce our two guests that we have this evening. Our first guest is Erin Cosentino. Did I say that right?
You did.
Great. In 2017, she unexpectedly discovered that she is an NPE. Immediately following the revelation, she set about the task of uncovering everything there was to know about searching for family. This personal passion bloomed into helping others search for answers in their own biological truths and healing from this revelation. Cindy McQuaid, she was adopted at 3 months and has always known. She's always had the desire to know her story and her identity. Trying to get her records and original birth certificate at the legal allowed age of 18 led her to discover the difficult options adoptees face in doing so. The hurdles that challenge adoptees led her to become an advocate for all fellow cribmates, as they lovingly call one another. So we'd like to welcome both Erin and Cindy to Happy Hour.
Thank you. Thank you
welcome.
so much.
Thanks, everybody, and welcome, welcome.
All right. So Cindy and I really appreciate the opportunity to come and share with you tonight some of the work that we've been doing with adoptees, NPEs, late discovery adoptees, and the donor conceived community. As you already shared a little bit about us, I did discover I was an NPE. My full-time day job is a special education teacher, teaching academically able students who are living and thriving with mental illness. I'm super passionate about my nonprofit work. Married, I have 3 young men. I don't have a lot of free time, but the free time I have, I like to read and do yoga.
And that's me. You did share a little bit about me. I think the only thing that I would add to what Marcie already said is my free time is swimming in the pool with my English lab, and continuing searching, being a search angel, here and there.
So Cindy and I actually met, we virtually met in a very large Facebook group, working together on the back end and helping the group run. And so I live in New Jersey, as she said, she's in Pennsylvania, and there was a meetup in Philly, which is kind of direct center for the two of us. And so we got to meet up with other adoptees, NPEs, donor conceived adults, and late discovery adoptees. And it was super awesome. For many people, it was the first time that they'd been in the same room with their crib mates or other people that had made this discovery as well, excuse me. And so we got to just spend a few hours together being in community. And immediately following that, Cindy and I just kind of looked at each other and said, that was really awesome, but that just wasn't enough time.
Enough.
It just wasn't enough time. So we met in person in March of 2019, and 6 months later, we hosted our very first retreat. Cindy, you want to chat about our name?
Our name. we were very, very selective on our name. I believe more the adoptees are familiar with this term, Hiareth, which Erin and most of us just pronounce it Hiareth, but the correct pronunciation would be the Hiareth. And it's the Welsh word for homesickness, for a home to which you cannot return. And Erin, I had told her about this term that we adoptees have used, and she was like, I love it, I love it, I love it. So we decided we wanted to absolutely use that, within our name for the retreats.
And obviously the hope and healing is because that's what we do. We give each other hope and we help each other heal. So we host 3 retreats a year now, April and October, and we have added a West Coast July retreat for this year. And when we first did these retreats, we met on a Friday and we left on Sunday. And, pretty much like the same time we met, we came to the realization that a day and a half really together was just not enough time. So our healing weekends now begin on a Thursday evening and they end on a Monday morning. The retreat portion, we spend all day Friday, all day Saturday in session, and then Sunday morning in session. Retreat officially ends Sunday afternoon at noon. And then we allow for a day to decompress in community, because there's so much that happens at these retreats, so many feelings that come up. And the first couple of retreats we did, we just kind of sent people home. And although we do keep in contact with you after you go home, we realized like there were people sitting in airports crying and people driving home and crying because so much had happened. And then they felt like it was go, 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 go. And they couldn't really talk about anything, that could happen. So we added that additional day, and we usually bring in like a masseuse, and sometimes we'll bring in a medium. We don't watch TV all weekend, but we usually put the TV on a little bit on Sunday when we're decompressing. And yeah, go ahead, Cindy, you're up.
Our tagline is Togetherness Heals, because we fully believe that we heal when we are together. We are very particular about the homes that we choose to host our retreats in. They're usually upscale, so that you feel like you are being pampered. And we want to make sure that they are very open concept, so to speak, so that we can prepare meals together. We can play games together, so that it's not like a hotel room. We want everybody to be able to be together. Again, Erin, I could go on. The facilitators, let's talk about that. How, we're very selective with the facilitators. We always try to get them from within our community so that they can, so that they're speaking from a known source. We like them to be interactive and not lecturing. We have found that the attendees really like to interact and communicate and feel like they're not just being lectured to. Our retreats are not, I'm sorry.
Volume down. Oh. It's okay. It was an accident. Got unmuted. Go ahead. It's okay.
The retreats are not meant to be like a conference or a summit. They're meant to be interactive, and we're in community.
Yeah, I think probably the best way to to explain the difference, because there's so much benefit in a conference. There's so much benefit in a summit, but we are much smaller, and we're much smaller by design on purpose. You know, I love a good professional development conference, but these specifically are much smaller by design.
Yeah, we generally don't have more than 30 attendees at one time.
Right. So this just kind of tells you where you can find us if you want to search for us. I just wanted to share a little bit more. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing, I think, for the moment, so that I can see everybody. I lost my train of thought about the purpose of these retreats obviously is healing, healing in community. But I like to say, as I said, I'm a special ed teacher, and I am working with students in crisis every day. And we always talk about our toolkit in school. You know, let's think about the tools that we can use, you know, to kind of de-escalate this situation. And I like to talk about retreat as like a toolkit magnified. And so I always refer to our Mary Poppins bag, because I literally want our toolkit to be never ending. You know, I want you to be able to, you know, be able to just pull out something at the drop of a hat, because as many people know, when we're in crisis, we're not thinking straight. So I almost want it to become second nature. Cindy and I are not licensed mental health clinicians. So we leave the facilitating to the experts. It's important to us that when we are choosing our facilitators, when we're interviewing our facilitators, that we are making sure that our facilitators are treating the whole person. So it's also very important to us that we select facilitators. Where are my California people? I always say I should have, I really should move to California, because I am so in touch with what I call my earthy, crunchy side. And so it's super, super important to us that we have these facilitators here that are able to give us what I call the science-y knowledge, you know, how your brain processes trauma. But then it's also really super important that we are able to look at the holistic side of things and see how, you know, that trauma is manifesting in our bodies, and what that looks like, and how we can have, again, tools in our never-ending Mary Poppins bag that are holistic. You can see my drum hanging behind me here. One of our facilitators at an upcoming retreat is actually teaching an energy drumming workshop, because at one of the very first retreats we had, this facilitator came and performed energy drumming on us, and the response was so incredibly visceral for so many of our attendees that they keep asking for it. So, but we've had facilitators come in and talk about, you know, mindful movement, Tai Chi, aromatherapy. We have had, you know, licensed clinical therapists come in and talk about all of the synapses that fire when we're in crisis, and, you know, the amygdala and the things that shut down. So I really think that you're getting all of this information from so many different angles, that you're definitely going to leave with a lot of tools.
Yeah,
in your
and
never
I'll add
ending Mary
in,
Poppins bag.
I'll add in, Erin, how even though we've had repeat facilitators, no retreat is ever the same. We get a lot of repeat attendees, but because of the type of facilitators that we have brought in, they're able to speak or present on different things. So that's been awesome. We don't want our retreats to become, you know, a McDonald's franchise. We want each one to be a different a different
We're not
thing.
cookie cutter.
Yeah, we would like them to be different for everybody that attends them.
This upcoming retreat for the I'm telling stories. It's not this upcoming retreat. It's the summer retreat. We have a play therapist coming. You guys may be familiar with her. You may not. Janet Nordine is coming, and this will be the first time we have a play therapist. And I'm so incredibly excited about that. We've done art therapy before. This upcoming retreat, there's someone coming. Corey Goodrich, who's an NPE, is going to talk about music, and how music helps you to heal. And I just realized real quick, there may be so many people on here that don't know what we NPEs call an NPE, right? Obviously, in genealogical terms, an NPE is a non-paternal event or any break in the paternal line in your family tree. But we stole the term NPE and we refer to it as not parent expected. So I took a DNA test in 2017 for fun, sort of for fun. My grandfather was a foster child. He was never formally adopted. He was raised with his foster parents. And my husband's uncle called to let us know that he took a DNA test for fun and found out that his dad wasn't his dad. So I immediately got wildly excited and I thought, I'm going to take this DNA test and I'm going to figure out who my grandfather's parents were. And then I found out that my dad is not my dad. So I would not be finding out who my grandfather's parents were based on my DNA test. So we refer to it as not parent expected. I certainly did not get the parent I expected to when I spit in that tube. So I think I'm done talking at people. Cindy, are you finished talking? I don't like to talk at people.
Well, the little side note I always like to add that, in doing all this, Erin and I had found out that we are very distantly related cousins, which I thought was pretty cool. Yeah, we share about 8 centimorgans of DNA, so I don't think we'll ever be able to really figure out how we are related.
And then the other thing that I did just want to add, I know Cindy kind of touched on how we always try to choose an upscale home. One of the things that we do is we open the home for registration. There's a certain, limited number of beds in the home. And so attendees are allowed to stay in the retreat home, but we also choose places that have a hotel nearby as well for people that don't want any part of 24/7 time together. So I think we're good for questions. If anybody has any. There's a couple of people on here, I think, that have been to retreat. I think I saw some familiar faces. So you can ask us questions or you can ask attendees questions. I'm open for whatever works for you guys.
Yeah, if you'd like to go ahead and raise your virtual hand, we'll go ahead and call on you then if you have questions. Yeah, my first question was going to be about the number that you have and the average number of attendees. I was wondering about that, and you did answer that for me. So, and you've been doing this for how long?
March of 2019 was our first retreat. October 2019. My apologies.
Yeah, and Marcie, we really stand strong on that 30 is the absolute max. Because, and here again, Erin, I don't think we really even though we said about the sessions, we get together Thursday nights. Friday, there are 3 facilitators. So you get 3, we rotate. That's why I said we don't like to do more than 30. So we break you up into 10, 10, 10, and you rotate to do 3 different facilitators. Saturday, then usually it's 2 facilitators. And then Sunday we do 1 and retreat ends at noon. And then that's when we do the, what Erin said, where we bring the massage therapist in.
Cindy, I'm going to interrupt you just for 1 second because I am going to turn back screen share and just so while you're talking, they can look and see. So I just pulled up the summer retreat. So go ahead. You said Friday there were 3 facilitators.
Yes. So on our website, we list and you can see, exactly what you're going to be doing. And again, like I said, it's 10 people and you rotate. So these are 2-hour sessions that you rotate. Oh, look, there's one of your board members that's going to be facilitating that our Phoenix retreat. We're so excited to have him. So Saturday, then usually there's the facilitator. One does a 4-hour presentation and one does a 2-hour. And then Sunday, again, it's usually we have, Erin, what do I call it? An advocate, an advocate who's sort of, now, Kathleen is an LDA and she's doing, what is it called, Erin? Because I've never heard of it.
Zentangle. Zentangle.
She is huge into drawing. So every Zoom I've ever been on with her, she's always over there just like drawing away. So I'm super excited for her.
And then we go into relax, refresh, renew. We have brunch on Sunday, and then we go into our relaxation time. Quotes is one of the things that we do at the very end. And it was just something that we did at the first retreat, and everybody kind of fell in love with it. So we keep it. You come to retreat with a quote, your favorite quote that you like to use, and then the rest of the attendees try and guess whose quote goes.
And
with
Erin,
it.
can you pull up the actual timed agenda from, I don't even know, it should be from a past retreat. Another thing that we have found that we love, it won't be in there yet. We play, what's it called? Besides Eve's game?
Cards Against Humanity.
Yes, that has become an absolute have to do. And also Eve's game, which we love. Eve's game. And what is that a spin-off of?
Left, right, center.
So we tell everybody bring $3 bills, and so you can win a couple of bucks. We play that, and we make the questions very sassy, I will say. So
Yes.
it's a fun little game. But again, like these houses that we have, all the rooms have TVs. Nobody turns the TV on until Sunday when we, like Erin said, we all generally are decompressing and we pick a movie to watch together. Other than that, we are sitting around when the facilitators are finished and after dinner. Most of the homes have a pool or a hot tub. And so, we pull out the booze and start drinking and just having a good old,
Cindy says that, and then I get crazy. I don't drink at all. I don't drink at all.
There's always one of them in the
drinks.
crowd. But no, that's where we just act like it's just a good old vacation. We're just having fun.
Yeah, I appreciate you sharing that about your retreat. There's something to be said about smaller groups. And I think, Erin, you were the one that said it. There are conferences, there are retreats, and they each have a different feel. And there's
exactly
a atmosphere and intimacy that you have with whatever event that you're hosting. So, this is really good to know, especially for the people out on the East Coast. So thank you for that. And I would like to, Erin, if I can kind of start the questions off a little bit, if you don't mind. And of course, you explained what an NPE is for those that may have heard that term for the very first time. Could you elaborate a little bit more on your story? I know that's one thing that we always enjoy is hearing more about. Well, of course, we know what took place and how you found out. There's a different experience. There's similarities between the NPEs and the adoption community. We all recognize that. Can you kind of talk about that, your personal story and how you reacted to all that, how you processed that, and who you leaned on when, because we know that was very difficult for you and you were very surprised. So
yeah,
get us the feeling of that.
Yeah.
Erin, Erin, before you start, I would just like to preface how Erin and I literally are on the phone just about every day. And Erin has been such an awesome adoptee learner. She's been extremely receptive and wanting to learn about, the differences, yet the similarities amongst us. So I just wanted to give her a little shout out that she is very adoptee aware.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. So as I said, my husband's uncle called my husband to say that he had made this discovery that Pop wasn't his father. And I very promptly bought the tube and I spit in it. And I sent it away. And, hindsight is 2020. And I remember my mom saying, why would you do that? Like my family's my family. I wouldn't want to know anything, And December 25th, I had my family here for Christmas. And of course, the topic came up that Uncle Danny had gotten his results. And I said to my mother, tick tock, those results are going to be in any day. So if there's any secrets, now's the time. You want to get them out now before my results come in. And my mom said, well, there may have been an affair or a few, who knows? Lori, that was my reaction. And actually, my stepsister was here, Lori, and I pulled her into my room and I said, oh my gosh, is my mom serious right now? And my stepsister were like, no way, absolutely not. Come on, your mother, she wasn't serious.
Because remember, Erin, she's perfect Peggy.
My mom has a lot of nicknames. So we, just kind of let that go. And 2 days later, lo and behold, my results came in. And my mother and father got divorced when I was very young. But my mother stayed very close with my grandparents. I didn't see my dad very often, but my grandparents were a huge part of my life. And ironically, I always felt this connection with my grandfather. My grandfather was my person and I was his person. And so I just started like rattling names off to my mom. Do you recognize this name? Do you recognize this name? Do you recognize this name? And she was like, no, I don't recognize that name. And day 2, I started scrolling and kind of digging a little bit deeper. And I actually found a name that was very familiar to me. And so I said, Mom, do you think that Pa was related, to his best friends? And she was like, no, I think that's just kind of coincidental. And I said, okay. And I just, kept kind of going on my own way. And my children at the time were 16, 15, and 13. And so in those couple early days, I really hid everything from them. So I can remember like hiding in my bathroom, calling my husband's uncle and saying, I think it's happening to me. I think the same exact thing is happening to me. So on day 3, I figured out who my biological father was. But I said to my mother, is there any chance that Daddy's not my father? And she said, yes, Erin, there's a chance. And I said, okay. And on day 4, I said, so do you want to talk about this anymore? And she said, fine. Do you want to know who your father is? And she told me. She gave me his name. Again, I already knew. I had already figured it out. And there are parts of my story that I don't discuss publicly, just out of respect for, the time in my mother's life that it was. But I did know my biological father in my early life. My grandparents and his parents were the best of friends. So my 2 dads, if that's how you want to say it, were raised together. They weren't, best friends, but their parents were best friends. And so they were raised together. And so he was in my life for the first like 8 years of my life. And then he just kind of disappeared, and I didn't really know where he went. I would ask my grandparents about him every once in a while, but he just kind of disappeared. And so I said to my mother, and 10 months prior to my discovery, my dad actually died of glioblastoma multiforme. He had brain cancer. And we had a terrible relationship. We really did not have a great relationship, but I don't believe that anybody should die alone. And so I brought my father home, and I cared for him. And so 10 months before I made my discovery, Uncle Jackie was at my dad's funeral. And so I saw him. So I just said to my mother, you know, Mom, I don't think that I would ever forgive myself if I didn't at the very least let Uncle Jackie know that I know. And so I am going to reach out to him, and I am going to tell him. And if he would like a relationship, that's great. And if he doesn't, that's okay too. I'll respect that. But I really would like to meet my siblings. And so that's exactly what I did. I reached out to him and I just said, hey, guess what? I know. And you know, he kind of made it like neither one of them were sure. And he didn't seem too open. But he did respond with an email immediately that night and told me that he was going to give me the most important information, which was my medical history. So I recognize that I am very lucky in that I did get my medical history immediately. And after 4 months of us kind of not really communicating, an email here, I reached out to my siblings. And that shut the door on reunion with my biological father. He told me that I was selfish and that he had no use for me, and he probably never would, because I never should have reached out to my siblings. And in reaching out to my siblings, I did discover that he did tell his wife about me. He carried my picture in his wallet, a baby picture, for 9 years. So he was very much aware of the likelihood, you know, that I really was his. I'm not really in reunion with my siblings. They're there, but they're much younger than me, and they have very young families. And, you know, they're very busy with their families. My sister lives about 3 hours away from me. My brother is much closer. But you know, it's really hard when you're 43 years old to build a relationship when not all parties want to build a relationship. So they're there. They know I'm here. They know that you know, my door is always open. But it's certainly not the fairy tale that everyone hopes for when, you know, they are navigating this journey. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it.
Thank you, Erin, for
You're
sharing
welcome.
that. Yeah, we all know reunion is not the same for each family, each one of us. It's different, and it ebbs and flows. And what's closed today can be open tomorrow. But thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely.
Marcie, I wanted to add another thing about the retreats. For those of you that know me, you know that I'm one of the oddball adoptees, as in I grew up in a very loving family, I'm a baby scoop era adoptee. I grew up around a ton of other adoptees. I have an adopted brother. I have cousins that are adopted. I grew up in a neighborhood full of adoptees. So I grew up always around adoptees until I started in a lot of these Facebook groups. It never occurred to me how many adoptees have never been around another adoptee. And I cannot stress enough how the in-person, yes, these Zooms and the Facebook groups have been great, but the in-person, to actually sit and talk and be with your tribe, your crewmates, is just unbelievable. When I see the other adoptees, like I said, that was a norm for me. But when I see these other adoptees interacting and just the, oh my gosh, there are other people like me in person. It's unbelievable. And that gives me great joy with these retreats when I see that, and I see oh my God, can I have your phone number? Yes, I'd love to talk to you anytime. I love that. I love it. I love it.
Yeah,
Just adding that.
There's definitely, I always say this, I think there's magic that takes place when you can physically get together versus a Zoom. Of course, we know, this is how Happy Hour even got created, was because we had to cancel our conference in 2020 and wanted to stay connected. And this was the only option really at that time. And it really wasn't even supposed to still be going. It was going to be a temporary thing. And now it's turned into be, of course, Friday night thing.
Correct.
But I hear what you're saying, Cindy, and you're right about that. There's just something, especially those first time attending. I mean, I can remember going to my first conference and just having to leave the room and go someplace and just cry because I was overwhelmed. But it made me feel good to be around like-minded people. But at the same time, it was it was a lot.
Right.
But anyway, I digress. But okay, but thank you for adding that in. And then you want to tell us a little bit more about your story, your reunion story, and share a little bit about that, Cindy, where you're at?
Mine, again, I said how I'm one of the lucky adoptees. My parent, again, baby scoop era, and my parents apparently did everything they were not supposed to do. They've been supportive of me and my adoptive brother in our searches from the get-go. We were never told we were chosen or to be grateful. Adoption was spoken about within our family all of the time. So as soon as I turned 18, I right down to Philadelphia to get my records, and got the non-identifying information. I don't know, those of you that have done this where the old woman is sitting across the desk and reading to you the little bit that they can give you, and you want to just grab the file and run out the door, which I did not do. But I guess I would be fine every couple of years with the non-identifying information. And I would contact the agency, can you reach out again? And apparently the only contact they had was with my maternal grandmother, who was holding the lock and was saying, no, there'll be no contact. There'll be no contact. So I had to wait until she passed away. And then the only contact I had was with my maternal half aunt, she gave me a plethora of information, gave me names of stuff that's like literal names, which she didn't know she was not supposed to. So I was able to track, the stuff down. And this was about the DNA time. So I was able to build the tree out, my husband and I met with my maternal half aunt, who was very, very nice, open. We emailed, we talked on the phone. And then all of a sudden, I get blocked, and what the heck? In between there, I had made contact with my birth mother's brother. He and his two children have welcomed me. They're very, very welcoming. In fact, my cousin has cut off pretty much all ties with my birth mother because of the rejection that she has done to me. My cousin was blown away that she reacted that way. My birth father swears that he does not recognize my birth mother's name at all, but DNA proves otherwise. So, it is what it is. So I welcome the immediate and the extended family that have welcomed me, and I don't really sweat about the ones that don't want the contact.
And like I said, that, that can always change tomorrow. And it's never any decision is not
Absolutely.
final.
Well, and you've probably heard this from numerous adoptees. I truly believe she has not dealt with her own trauma. And, I'm still a secret, even though I'm not a secret, because I'm all over everybody else's Facebook page going, hi, cousin. I love to do that. Hi, Uncle John. I specifically, throw it out there. And I did notice that the half aunt unblocked me. So she apparently is back to stalking me again.
Okay. Thank you, Erin. Or excuse me, Cindy. Okay. We've got some comments going on in the chat room. Who's got a question that they would like to ask Erin or Cindy at this time? Anybody? Want to know more about the retreats or more about, guys, quiet tonight.
Come on, Keith, you've got to have a question.
Oh yeah, Keith's always good for a question.
Yeah, come on, Keith.
Okay, here you go. So if there's a pool at the retreat, are cannonballs allowed?
Absolutely, we encourage them.
Okay, I'll be there at the Maryland retreat then.
Oh, well, the Maryland pool, the Maryland retreat, you'd actually be jumping into the bay.
Well, yeah, it's going to be a little cold in October, but all right, that's my question, though.
And we've got it recorded so we can remind him, okay?
Yes.
Yeah, I've been bugging him for quite some time because he's really within the radius to attend some of the retreats, and I think he would really, really enjoy it.
It's amazing how your personal stories can take you to do the type of work that you're doing. I totally can resonate with that. And so we really do appreciate the two of you and where these retreats are going. It sounds like it's unique. This is the first I've heard of these retreats that you're having. So I'm really, really excited to learn a little bit more about them.
Hey,
Well,
Marcie.
you should come to one.
There was a question.
Oh, yeah, no, I was just saying, Marcie, in the comment section, Susan would like to know what the website is for the retreat. So either I can drop it in the chat, or if you guys want to be able to drop it in the chat. And when is the sign up opening for the fall retreat?
Oh, that's a great question, actually. So we normally, the summer retreat we got a deal that we just couldn't pass up. So we opened registration very early, but we normally open registration for the following retreat at the end of the retreat we're at. So October will open the Sunday of April's retreat.
So Erin, ideally it's 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
They have 6 months to register.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, Erin. We understand all about that decompression, and I'm glad that you're offering that as well. That's something that we recognized in our conferences, that when it was time to go home, and we've got some conference attendees here too that are nodding their heads and can attest to that. It's that feeling of, I don't want to go home yet.
Mm-hmm.
And you have that rush, you have those feeling, and you want that to continue.
Yes.
And I know we did a happy hour on it with I thought Amber was on tonight, Amber Jimerson and Ridgehouse, and they came on and talked about that and some of the things, the self-care that we need to pay attention to. So I think that's a really good idea to build that into either a day or a half day or whatever in the actual retreat or conference, to allow people that time to, and obviously have a couple of therapists handy to kind of sort things out and let you ease back into your daily routine when you go home. So.
Yeah, the other thing, Erin, we forgot to mention is during COVID, we started offering virtual options. So that is still available. We have several attendees who not only just because of COVID, but just do not like to travel. So we've offered that, and we found out the hard way with the very first virtual with a repeat attendee as to how we almost needed a trigger warning for, what was Erin? Was it inner child that we were doing?
Yeah, it was the inner
And she was
child
by
work.
herself, and we didn't even, so again, we're learning as we go, but we didn't even think about that here was this poor woman by herself and just had this overwhelming virtual attendance thing and had nobody there with her.
Yeah.
Wow.
Thank you for bringing that up, because Marcie, I was going to respond to that comment, but you got it. So thanks.
Yeah, that's pretty important.
It is. It is.
Okay, let's see. Any of my, or I should say our conference attendees from the last time want to address that before we move on to maybe another question?
Anne had her hand up. I don't know
Anne
if you saw
did?
that. Well, Anne had her hand up. I didn't know if you saw that.
No, I did not. I was going through it. No, Anne, go ahead and ask your question.
I can say both. Like, I do agree with the decompression after the, like as I was at the conference in Indiana, and I went to the Cub conference, which was even probably more, I needed it more. But of course I was with my mom, so that complicated things even more. But yeah, I do think some space was just to relax and like exhale.
Mhm.
It is important. No, but so I don't want to say unique, because adoption and NPE, there's a million, crazy scenarios, but in and amongst doing my DNA, we realized, so my birth parents were married. I have 2 younger full siblings, and what should have been 3 half siblings from my dad's first marriage, but we found out his oldest daughter was not his daughter, and nobody knew that. So there's a lot of, I don't even know if animosity is the right word, but like they've totally, embraced me, and she feels like left out. And then she goes, she's met her paternal side, and then my biological family loses their mind. Like, how dare she go with those people? Her sister called her sissy. I'm like, as they're sitting across the table from me at a Cub conference, like, I mean, it was insane. So I kind of would like to, maybe I live in Virginia, so Maryland's like an hour and a half, 2 hours from me, and she lives in Maine. So I would kind of like to invite her and say, hey, do you want to go? But do you think it'd be really weird if we came together, if she has these feelings of?
We actually have our first set of family members coming together to Phoenix, an NPE and an adoptee, actually. So do I think it would be weird? I mean, what's normal, Yeah. And the beauty about the number that we stick to is that it's the perfect size for togetherness, but it's also the perfect size for, I need a break, you know?
In fact, one of the attendees, who happens to be an adoptee that's coming to Phoenix, reached out and private messaged me and wanted to know, if she felt triggered, and she's staying in the house, or if she wanted to stay in the house, would it be okay for her not to attend a session? And I said, absolutely. Erin and I are not over there with our yardsticks, smacking you on the head saying, get to your class. We totally get that. So she is staying in the house. She just didn't want to take away from a room if that would look bad that she was in bed and wasn't, attending.
But also to that point, Cindy, the beauty of it is somebody is, if you go into another room, you're going to get your space, but then somebody's going to come and check on you, or if you're staying in the house and you go up to your room and the door is closed, somebody's going to come up and knock on the door. Are you okay? Do you need somebody to talk to? No, I'm okay. All right. We'll see you in a little bit. or yeah, could you come in, please, and just sit with me for a little
Now,
while.
what is usually the breakout between like NPE and adoptee?
This will be our first adoptee heavy retreat.
Phoenix.
They've kind of been split. Maybe a third are adoptees, but we're seeing a shift.
Now, I will say when Erin and I are very particular when we pick the groups, we put OGs, the original gang. So the repeat attendees, we always try to put a couple of them in the group of 10. And we always make sure that there's adoptees, NPs, and DCs. So you won't be with just adoptees. We are very specific. We don't want, little clickies going on. We know generally the personality of the people coming in, that we can go, okay, we need somebody that's going to be able to help this fragile person. So we'll put a strong person in that group. So we're not just randomly throwing people anywhere. We really take the time to put people in groups with people that we think will be helpful to them while they're in, the different sessions.
All right. Thank you very much.
Ladies, I've got a anonymous question here. Let me see if I can go ahead and ask that. And this is probably for you, Erin.
Sure.
Regarding trauma for NPE versus adoptees, and in parentheses, like primal wound versus non-primal wound trauma. And are there NPE trauma books?
That's actually a really great question. I say it's a great question because we just started an NPE book club. There's a brand new book, trauma specific. No, there are no trauma specific NPE books yet. The new book that just came out is a guidebook, and it does talk about the stages that an NPE goes through, but it is written by a journalist and not a licensed clinician. So no, there is no specific book on trauma for the NPE. However, one of the things that we just began discussing in the book club was this concept called the unthought known, which is nowhere near the primal wound, but is pre-verbal trauma. That subconsciously we did know as NPEs. And I know, Marcie, you had asked about whether or not I wanted to keep the recording on or off. If you feel as though people might want to have it turned off, I'm 100% okay with that as well. I see some more questions coming in, so I guess people might not mind so much. So I hope that I answered the anonymous question, but if I did not, you could absolutely put me in touch with the anonymous questioner.
Yeah,
anonymously.
I'd be happy to do that. Obviously, as that community, NPE, donor conceived, as that community continues to grow, we'll probably see more and more books. And when you think we'll see a lot of,
I do actually.
Somebody will tap into that trauma.
Yeah, there's actually a book in the works by a licensed clinician, but it's like a guided journal. So.
And I will just add in that the facilitators that we have had that speak about the scientific trauma have addressed not only the separation trauma, but the NPE trauma. So, it's, again, we have differences, but yeah, we have similarities.
We do.
And most LDAs / NPEs would tell you that they sense like this thing is not like the other, that they had that sense that something was not right.
Okay, we've got some questions coming in, some raised hands. Lori, you want to take yourself off mute, and then Robin, you're after Lori.
All right. I have 3 questions, but they should be pretty quick, and they're kind of geared towards the retreats. I noticed you guys have a retreat like spring, fall, and summer, so about every 6 months. Do you alternate back and forth between the 2 coasts, like every other one, or is the spring always on the West Coast, fall, and then summer's like somewhere in between?
That's a great question. The spring and fall are both on the East Coast, but that's because I have to follow a school calendar.
Okay.
And so I need to be within driving distance for spring and fall. That's
And
why
then
we
can
chose.
I answer about the summer?
Sure.
Because Erin and I almost parted ways with this summer retreat. I say that lovingly. She threw this upon me. I am the analytics part of our stuff, the paperwork thing. So this has been very mind-boggling with this 3rd retreat. But as she said, we've had numerous people asking for West Coast, and she found this unbelievable, we couldn't pass it up house. There we are, bam, Cindy's out of her mind. Oh my gosh, what are we going to do? So we've decided, I think, with the summer, because Erin is off from teaching, that we're going to just make that a destination. We're just going to go all over the country and see where we can find, a decent looking house.
Okay.
I
Because
recognize it's super hot in Phoenix in the summer,
but
but it's super hot in New Jersey in the summer as well.
yeah, it's super hot almost everywhere except for maybe Alaska. Well, because looking at my schedule and stuff, I was looking at the past retreats. I'm like, which one could I kind of focus on? Which one can I kind of aim for? I don't know if I can make the summer one this year, but East Coast, love to go East Coast. So that's good to know that your summer ones will kind of be like a destination and could be anywhere. Which okay, that's good. So do you still have spaces open for the Arizona one?
We do.
You do. Okay. Spaces in the home for the Arizona? Is there a different cost to stay in the home?
Well, you pay for your accommodations in the home the same as you would pay for your accommodations in a hotel.
Okay.
So
okay.
all of that information actually is in the Facebook group. Cindy, if you could drop that link. The home is not on the website just because that would really complicate the website. But I will tell you that there are no private rooms left in the retreat house. You would be in a shared room.
Oh, okay. That's good to know. That's good to know. Okay. Well, thank you. And ladies, the retreats look wonderful. Erin, I'm an adoptee. I was a new attendee to the conference of NAAP, and it was earth-shattering, life-changing. It was great. These happy hours have been, life-saving a lot of times. But after finding my birth parents through DNA, I decided to give my husband's family, gift them all DNA kits for fun, because they were huge into genealogy on the paper side, and I uncovered a family secret. My sister-in-law, so my niece, the oldest grandchild, who was big into the family genealogy, her father is not her father. And I was the one who exposed that. And I tell you, it affected me in a way that I joked that I ruined her life. I ruined the family dynamics and everything, because it was not so NPEs do have their own trauma. So I like that you guys are addressing that and everything. So thank you.
Well, if she's over 18, you can send her my way. We do have a support group.
Well, it is funny because this retreat I'm going to post out there, and kind of I'll probably even nudge her in a private message and say, hey, you might check this out. So
thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Lori. Robin, you're next.
I was just gonna say that I would think that, of course, there's still trauma. It might be different than the primal wound trauma. But one of the things I would think would be common, possibly in an NPE, is having a, I don't know whether this would happen or not. In my situation, I was adopted. I was a foster kid first. So let me explain my situation. This is where this is coming from. I was a foster kid first. My adopted dad wanted to adopt me. My adopted mother did not. She had 3 biological children. I thought those children were both of theirs. Didn't find out till I was 12 or 13 that those 3 children were not his after all. So I guess that would be like the not parent expected too. Our household was full of secrets, but I remember there was a time for a while that I thought maybe he's my dad and she's not, because she was so hateful to me so much of the time. And so I would think that there might be an underlying current sometimes that with that other parent that they aren't as loving with you. And that aha moment when you finally find out, that it's like, oh, that explains it. That doesn't mean all, because there's some amazing step parents. There are some step parents that are better than parents, but especially when biological kids come on the scene, sometimes those differences become more apparent. So along with the sense of betrayal of not being told, or having that open secret that everybody but or it seems like everybody but there's all of those traumas I would think that would be built in there. And my one question about this is, if anybody here knows, has anybody ever done research about something along the line of a primal wound from being separated from your dad? We all know that primal wound from being separated from our mothers, but is there anything similar from also being separated from our fathers? Just curious.
I just attended the Zara Phillips and Paul Sunderland thing. I don't know if anybody else did that. And he actually talked very briefly about that. So now you're going to make me go back and ask some of the other people that I know that attended that, what he was saying about that. You were muted.
Thank you. I'm gonna make a note of that and go look for that, because I know I've listened to
Yeah,
him.
I know they recorded it, but I don't think it's going to be released for a couple of months.
So,
but I will reach out. Actually, I'll just message Zara and see if she remembers, because they did talk about that.
Well, and the one thing I will say too, that I don't see a lot of it discussed in the adoption groups, is us later adoptees. So I was taken away from my mom at 18 months old. She continued to visit with me for a year. So after a year, the social services said she could no longer have custody of me, that she could give me up for adoption, or she could leave me in foster care, but she would never have custody of me again. So at 28 months, that's almost 3, I lost my mom. And nobody ever discusses the kind of impact that has. Different from the primal wound, but seriously, it wasn't until I was watching a Dr. Drew on celebrity, addiction, and he's talking to some actress about her boyfriend who, his mother died at 3, and that's going to greatly impact him and his relationships for the rest of his life. And I was like, bing, hello. Yeah. Nobody has ever even mentioned that could be an issue for me in my life. Could that have something to do with my second divorce by the age of 26?
And actually, one of our facilitators, Erin, I can't remember which retreat out of the 3. This is a new topic. And again, like I said, we're learning as we go. We have somebody who's speaking about the grief that we were never, able to acknowledge. Do you remember which retreat that is, Erin?
I don't, because I thought you were going to the CPTSD, and that's Maryland.
Okay, well, that also. But again, the whole grief thing is new, that, oh my gosh. And again, you heard me say how we never want any retreat to be the same. And Erin said, we want the Mary Poppins bag so that when you come, you always are getting a new tool. So these are two new things that, yes, we are going to be throwing at the attendees, way for their tool bags.
Yeah, it's embarrassing. Marcie and Jennifer know I've come to this a couple of times and just lost it completely, and a couple of other things. And then I don't want to come again because I'm embarrassed that I lost it.
Oh my gosh, don't ever feel that way.
I did my search in 1982, 83, my family, and then closed the door and went merrily on my way, and then went to my first conference in October of this last year. And so it is, I was out of the fog, but I had not unpacked any of the baggage or looked in the baggage room at all. So yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. So I appreciate you guys being here and sharing it. I'm looking forward to I'm gonna go check out Arizona. I may see you there.
Oh, we'd love to. Marcie, I just wanted to add real quick, if we have anybody here in attendance that could possibly be a facilitator, we're always looking for facilitators. And you can email us on our website, which I did post in the chat, or you could reach out to Marcie, for us, but we're always looking for new facilitators.
Okay, thank you. And I do have another anonymous question. Okay, so let's talk about the percentage of males and females at these things. I'm assuming you have males.
We do.
It's probably the smaller percentage.
Yes.
I think overall, at least in my experience for the last 13 years, I see a trend. I see more than, hats off to you guys. Okay, you're kind of
well, we know how the males tend to suppress their feelings. And I agree with you, Marcie. I am seeing in support groups that they are becoming more vocal and
more organized. But of course, any male can speak up here for me because I don't want to speak for you, but we know that they have their own things that they like to talk about. We always offer the fishbowl, the male fishbowl, where all the males can get together.
The man cave, caves.
So, but yeah, but what's your ratio right now with
we actually have 3 coming to the April retreat, which I'm
that will be the most
excited about. And I will say, Erin and I recently, just for this year, will be the first time that we are allowing the men to stay in the house. For some reason, I don't know. We just said, well, they can't stay in the house. It just never was, we just didn't even think about it. And then we thought, well, we're all adults here and they're big enough houses that obviously we're not going to have you co-sleep in the same room. But usually the homes are 3 levels that, we can have a man wing, that sort of thing. So we did we just did open that up.
Our initial house was only 5 bedrooms. So there wouldn't, that was the original deciding factor. Bruce asked, are the retreats geared around information education, or is there opportunity for emotional release and processing? The retreats are not geared around information education. The retreats are geared around emotional release and processing. That's one of the main differences between, like NAAP's summit as opposed to the retreat. There's a lot of crying at retreat, but there's a lot of laughter. There really is. So, we hold your hand while you cry, and then we help you to the bathroom when you're laughing so hard you're going to pee in your pants.
And another thing I will add is when retreat is over, you're added to a Facebook messenger chat, which continually grows. You have made friends for life. We talk all day long on the chats about, my kid's in a bad mood, to something triggered me. We have gotten together several times throughout the year just to get together, you know, for an overnight in New York City or Philadelphia or whatever. So you're not, again, even though we do that decompression on Sunday, you're still not sent on your way. You still have a lifeline forever with us. Unless you choose to leave the chat, then that's on you, but we're still there for you.
No, Robin, you won't be.
Oh, no, not at all.
Okay, do we have any other questions? No more questions. Good stuff tonight, ladies. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you so much for having us.
Do you have any closing comments? Either one of you?
I don't. You know, feel free to send an email if you have any additional questions. I look forward to maybe getting myself to conference one of these days. I truly am a huge adoptee, trauma informed individual. I have put in a lot of work to learn, because of course I was one of those people that thought all adoptees should be grateful. And I was very quickly schooled.
I schooled her.
Very quickly schooled on that.
Good job, Cindy.
Yeah. And so I love to learn, and I love to keep growing. So I appreciate the opportunity to share space with all of you.
Well, you're quite welcome. And like I said, you know, we've said this before. I mean, their conferences, summits, retreats, they all have their purpose. They all have goals in mind, and they all have a different atmosphere, all needed, of course. But we just wanted to have these ladies on tonight to tell you about what they're doing, and something that's just a little bit obviously different than a conference and a summit. So we're just really glad to have both of you on. We appreciate your time with us this evening, and round of applause. Thank you. Before we, we have some closing comments of our own and some announcements, and I'll just wait on Jennifer.
Okay. Well, I'm just now dropping the links to all of our events, our website, our Facebook, our Instagram. Please be sure to like us and subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's where you can find all the replays out there. And I'll go ahead and bring up, we'll talk about in order of events. Go ahead, Marcie.
Okay. We have Dr. Joyce Tuesday at 6 p.m. That is the 25th, putting yourself together after a reunion. Make sure you do go ahead, and you've already got the registration open, Jennifer, I believe. So join us Tuesday at 6 p.m. And then we also have at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, David Bull with Adoptee Paths to Recovery. We will also be celebrating this group has the 1-year anniversary coming up, and it's just been an amazing. David's done some amazing things out there bi-monthly on Tuesday evenings, along with Teresa Noer, his co-facilitator. So we're really excited about this coming Tuesday. And then next week we have, drum roll, Janet Nordine, and we're going to do the therapeutic power of play with Janet. We were fortunate to have Janet at our conference this past fall, so we would like to have her back on. So you definitely don't want to miss that.
She's Marcie, can I just say, she has already signed up to facilitate at 2 of our retreats. She's so excited.
Yeah, Janet is great. We're very fortunate to have her on a happy hour now. She's participated in our conferences in the past, but we're really glad to have her on a happy hour. So that's a wrap for me. We appreciate all of you coming on this evening. Sorry about the little bit of the Zoom problems. Sometimes we don't know, but I'm glad that all of you took time to spend with us this evening. And we want everybody to have a great week, great weekend. Okay, we're here for you if you need anything else. Thanks again. Stay warm or stay cool wherever you're at. We appreciate you. Ladies, if you'll just stay on for just a second, please.